Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Gift of Gaming podcast. And on this week's episode, we're exploring the big bad open world of video games. What's up, everyone? It's me, your host, Darren Wade, and today I am joined by my own blood and brother, Andrew Wade. Andrew?
All right, thanks for having me.
Of course. And of course, my dear, good friend, KP. KP, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I have a question to ask you. Mm-hmm. How is the prep work going for the D3 Invitational?
Oh, very good. Very good. I've been putting some pen to paper for ideas, some props. I've got some
props. Excellent.
Yeah. And I don't want to give too much away, but I'm going to try and make it as golf realistic as possible. So I'm just trying to rattle through the last time I actually played a game of golf, what utensils do you have, what props do you have? So I'm going to try and print some stuff off and gonna go for complete immersion here on this.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Andrew, I don't know if you've heard of the D3 Invitational.
I'm sitting here going, what? No.
So we were all playing a lot of Switch golf recently. And on a drunken night to see Tenacious D, I think it was, myself and our good friend Luke, myself, KP, and our good friend Luke were discussing how fun it would be to actually have a full-blown golf tournament.
Okay.
So, we're going to have, what did we say, if we can get the numbers, 3 or 4 switches, 3 or 4 games happening, at the same time, and the top 4 scorers go into the finals. But it's dress up in your best golf gear.
I'm strict on that. I'm going golf club rules. It has to be a collared t-shirt.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any prisoners. If no denim, can't wear denim on the golf course.
I'm gonna go fucking full blown, man. I've already said it, having a look out for my gear. But I'm very excited. And I also said because I've only started watching real life golf recently after getting into Switch golf, because I find the whole thing very relaxing. But what I found hilarious about golf was the commentary. In that there's a bit of air to fill, and golf commentators can go off on just the funniest, weirdest tangents. Yeah. So I said to KP, I was like, look, what I'll do is I'll bring an amp and a microphone, and what I'll do is, if I don't make it to the final, I'll commentate the final. Well, the lads are pressure's on and stuff like that, and I'll keep an eye on everybody's game, so I know how they play, and I can do. So it'll be good fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, really, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good crack.
Andrew, what are you up to these days? What games you playing? Still Helldivers 2, I'm assuming.
Yeah, still Helldivers 2. I brought it along as well, just to convert you all into the joy of Helldivers.
Yeah, amazing.
But yeah, no, I think of that followed 76, and because of our last podcast, I'm back playing Anthem again, just for shits and giggles.
Sweet Jesus, really?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Fun. It's actually, it's empty, but it's still.
Is there any people online playing it?
Yeah, no, I've managed to bump into several groups of people playing it there. So even last night I was playing, there was 3 other random people, all with the Chinese symbols for the names. I have no idea who anyone was. So I turned off the chat because I figured, probably not gonna. But no, yeah, just burning around, playing a few missions together, kind of thing. So still a bit of fun.
Nice. I still can't finish Kingdom Hearts because I made it too hard for myself.
Second chance not helping.
I haven't gotten it yet.
Level 90 or something?
Level 90, yeah. And I don't know if I'm bothered getting up to level 90.
Just grind on hard. Let's just one at a time for the next 20 years of your life. Have a second chance.
I like to think I have a life outside of Kingdom Hearts, but maybe I don't, Otherwise, I turned on Dredge again the other day to go for the platinum.
Yeah.
Very relaxing. I was playing it a bit last night, and I was like, God, this is just so chill. Really enjoying that. But we're not here to talk about Dredge or Anthem or the D3 Invitation. Those things are not on the list. Today we're talking about open world video games. What we love about them, what we hate about them, ones we love or hate. And I guess my first question before I ask you what you pick is, I'll ask you both. I'll start with you, KP. Mm-hmm. What's a good open world game to you?
I suppose I need, if you've made a large map, I need the space filled with things to actually do. Nothing boils my blood more when you're playing an open world game where you just have to go follow main storyline to main storyline, and there's no real NPC interaction or side quests in between. The world itself is kind of dull to go from one area to the next.
Yeah.
That if that starts happening in a game, I'm likely to turn it off. It's just, I'd rather a game just be more linear. You don't have to have it open world. I feel if you waste the fact that it's an open world, why have you made it one? I hate having to traverse between area to area when there's nothing to do or see.
Sweet FA.
To me it's pointless.
And Andrew, what about you? What makes a good open world game for you?
Detail to the world. stuff that you can kind of wander around. Just like the times you walk into a place and kind of look at it and go, there's a vista in front of you, and it's just absolutely breathtaking. And I see that mountain over there, and I'm going to go to that mountain, and being able to actually get to those places you can see. So I hate ones that'll do an open world and you have a backdrop that you cannot get to.
Yeah. I think for me, it's lived in. Like, I mean, I'm right with, I think both of you said there is ideal as well. But on another thing, I like to understand what's going on in the world, without it being like just spoon fed to me via your main quest scenario or whatever, that I can go and explore and just learn things about this world that I'm living in. That I wouldn't have to find, that I'm not like, it's not, my hand isn't being held to be like, so like, I think there's lots of stuff. And I know Mass Effect is an open world, but Mass Effect would have had lots of little things for you to scan and read that would have given, breathed life into the world that you were living. And one of my picks, which I'll get into later, like Horizon Forbidden West, you're scanning stuff all the time to learn about, what came before you and everything like that. And I love that kind of like, just excited to be where I am, Andrew, is there a world you want to kick us off with?
Well, I'm not going to start with my first one, which was going to be Horizon Zero Dawn, because it seems you've already got them pegged. So.
Well, listen, we can all break into that. You're playing that now as well.
I'm playing Forbidden West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you have Zero Dawn as your choice.
Well, no, I was going to go Forbidden West Zero Dawn. I mean,
perfect.
It's the same kind of, it's the same world kind of thing. So
yeah,
a few good extras. But no, I'll go with one and just get it out of the way, because you knew it was coming. No Man's Sky.
Okay. All right, we're going to limit our time on this because you're starting to sound like a one-trick pony over there.
It's an ear Kingdom Hearts boy.
Fair.
Just because I like that, and as you said as well, to have a place where you can explore and talk to people and communicate and stuff as well. There's a lot more of that put into the game as a lately kind of thing with the NPCs you can kind of talk to and find out more of the history of the world and the Atlas and all that kind of stuff. So that's amazing in itself. But just the fact that you can go to any planet, explore to your heart's content like that. There's no borders. You can see everything you can get to, because it's the entire planet you have access to. And if you get bored of that planet, hop on your ship up into space, visit any other planet in that solar system. If that bores you, go into the galaxy, go to a different solar system, or go to a different galaxy.
And would you say, from Kev's point, in terms of it being not just empty space and there being stuff to do, because I know No Man's Sky had that issue when it first came out, that the places were fairly bare-boned. Has that been remedied?
It depends on what you're going to go for. So the worlds themselves will be quite sparse, because that's the whole idea behind No Man's Sky. Is like it's the word the Atlas built the world. The Atlas is starting to fall apart now, and now there's only there's only playing that recently. It's like there was one of the kind of the NPCs mentioned. 64% of our worlds have now succumbed to the Atlas. Okay. So more than half the game is dead and barren worlds that are no longer inhabited, kind of thing. But even with those, you can find ruins of people were there before. You can find the old temples. You can find the research stations that are overrun now with the monsters, the nightmare creatures. So even the dead worlds have story to them, kind of thing. Now you will find they are vast, empty wastelands and a lot of the things. So there's nothing there to see. But if you do find yourself landed on one of those, straight on your ship, back into space, find one that's slightly more inhabited. But even with that, you've got space stations that are full of NPCs. You've got the anomaly, which is full of players. You've got a hub that follows you around, kind of thing. So you can just go to that when you want, visit players, NPCs up there as well. And then you can go visit all the different places, and there's monoliths on all the different planets based off all the three races. And that gives you the history of the races and how they came to be, and what the Sentinels are, and how their war went with the Sentinels. So when you start playing the game, you've got the Gek, who are these really timid frog-like creatures who don't want to talk to anybody. But in their history, they were the world enders, the destroyers of everything. They were the race that wiped out everybody else.
It's kind of like the White Rabbit and the Holy Grail, looks timid.
Yeah, but then you throughout the entire game, you're finding out how they went from being the destroyers of worlds to these timid creatures who just want to basically fart on you to please you. They excrete gas.
You play some weird games, my guy.
They excrete gases to see how you react to it, and that's how it's their way of kind of judging emotions and stuff.
Jesus. So. That is not a race I would want to be part of.
No. But you can become one of them if you want, kind of. But it's just.
I know you're a No Man's Sky shill.
100%. Not going to deny it in the slightest.
But where in the realm of open world games would you rank No Man's Sky on a personal level? Do you think it's one of the, from your own list, one of your favorite open world games, or is it just a good one?
No, it would. I mean, it's No Man's Sky, so it would be one of my favorite open world. It's one of the games I can keep going back to, and while a lot of the planets will be similar in biome style, they're always different regarding what you can find and where you can build on and stuff as well. So nice.
KP, I have a feeling, I think you mentioned before the episode that you had one that you hated, an open world game that you hated, and I'm starting to think I might know what that is.
Do you want to have a guess?
Was it Hogwarts Legacy?
No, I did have that in my head as one, but I to this day did relatively enjoy that game. It gave me enough of what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Now, like when I did say I don't like the kind of dead space and there's kind of just like a lot of wasted map. Like the Hogwarts Legacy is very guilty of doing that, a lot of just copying and pasting of assets, and it's very samey, the different towns and that sort of stuff. But I just enjoy the exploration of Hogwarts Castle and that, so like that ticked
and that's
enough boxes for me. No, the game I really disliked was L.A. Noire. Do you remember?
I do. I fucking love that game.
You loved it? Okay, right. For me, it was on the surface. I remember like the hype around the game when it was like announced, and like being Rockstar published. I think like that always has an extra added. I'm going to enjoy this game, as in like, love GTA. So, and it stylized wise, visually, it was
for the time, it looked great.
It looked great. And there was a lot of work, like before I like say it like, oh, it's the worst game ever. Like a lot of very good things do exist in the game. Like graphically for 2011, it's fantastic. And they had this whole system about like facial recognition. Did you so like
when that game came out, I felt, because I was big into crime at the minute, and I think just before the game would come out, I'd seen LA Confidential for the first time, and I used basically LA Confidential the game almost
100%.
but I was big into like growing up the ranks through like being detective to see, all that kind of stuff.
And those parts of it are very cool, and like the whole like there was a lot of innovative stuff that happened in the game, in particular around like how they employed like a ton of actors. Like there's like over like 400 actors worked on this, and some of them are very recognizable, kind of like American like TV stars. Like you'd be like playing the game, and you're like, oh, that's like Eric that's your man from Malcolm in the Middle. Stuff like that would happen. And like the way they did it was they had like 32 cameras like on an actor's face, like filming reactions, because a huge part of the game is interrogation scenes, and you have to try and figure out if they're telling the truth or lying, and you can accuse them when you think you've built up enough evidence. But the reason I didn't really enjoy it was because even though they'd put all this time and effort into building this amazing version of LA, and it's very accurate to LA in the 1940s, they had like the development team had access to this archive of like 100,000+ really like detailed photos of actual LA, and they rebuilt a section, like a catchment area, like an 8-mile section of LA, and it's apparently spot on, like the roads, the buildings, it is like being put there, and it's a lot of really good work was done. But for me, like the gameplay doesn't match the world. Like and as you said, like the climbing up through the ranks, like they're basically like levels is how I looked at that. So you start off like kind of like a street cop, like kind of petty crime, and then you do a couple good jobs, and then you just kind of move up the ranks. But it's very samey though.
And from my memory, the game is, considering it has an open world, and I put that in almost inverted commas, it is a very linear game. Like you're not side questing in L.A. Noire, you're playing a storyline.
No, and the only side quest you ever come across is like you might be out in your patrol car and something comes out over the radio and like, oh, there's an active shooting or something like that. But I say shooting, you're a police officer. You basically have your gun in the holster for the whole game. Like the whole game is around being a detective, which is fine. But it's also called an action adventure game. Like, where was the action? Where was the adventure? Each. This is how it goes. Every single crime that you have to investigate, you go to the location the crime was committed. On the map, it'll do a grid. Search this grid area. You'll pick up as many kind of little like clues. You'll maybe interrogate some people there, try and get some timelines and build a case. And the first couple times you do that, you're like, oh, this is fun. But it's fun the first couple times, and it's literally the entire game is doing that. You go to an area, you pick up a couple clues, you eventually then go into like a person's home or like a pub or like wherever like the person who you need to interrogate is. And then like the lead character who you're playing, who's doing the interrogation, this guy's like a World War II veteran, and like he's literally just back from being overseas, and he's meant to be this like shining white knight in what's an otherwise kind of corrupt police system, and he's so very easily corruptible himself. So like when he's doing these interrogations, like he'll be interrogating like a woman, and he'll be like, "Where were you here?" And like she'll be like, "Oh, I have an alibi." And he was like, "Do you want your like unborn son to be raised in a prison?" And all this, like, and he quickly turns into like the biggest arse ever, like, and it's just like the whole tone of the game, like it's completely centered around like kind of like dark like crime, which like, okay, fair enough, you'd expect it in
especially as you get further on, when you get into Vice and stuff like that.
And like, and at one stage you're investigating the Black Dahlia murder, which is quite cool. Like they bring in like an aspect of like real life crime into a game, but then also like that was a really like grim crime. Like there was never any like kind of like moments in the game where you're like, oh, this isn't stressful at all. Like the whole tone of it,
and it's
quite
funny,
dour.
It came out in a time where like true crime is fucking huge at the minute. Like, you know, true crime podcasts are like the top podcast, everything like that. If L.A. Noire had come out today in like modern day graphics, whatever else, I'd say that game would have been a fucking, I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't a huge success.
It did
but I'm
well.
saying it did well. But you're right in terms of you spent like that whole world exists when you're driving around in your patrol car, but it doesn't. You feel like you're on rails for the most part. Yeah.
And the driving around, like it is just like dull, because while like the detail of like the streets and the environment are amazing, like there's not a whole lot going on. Like it's just, you're just literally driving in almost empty roads, and there's not many like people on the side. Like it just doesn't feel like immersive, even though the world itself is quite great. And like the unique selling point of the game, I think, was probably the interrogation system,
because I think
like, that's the thing that separated it from any other kind of like shooter,
any game at its time. And like that's kind of the motion capture that they were doing was like ahead of its time for 2011. So
but it was confusing, or was that maybe just a me thing? I found like sometimes you're meant to read the expression of a person's face, and like sometimes they'll do like those classic tells of like they'll be making eye contact with you, and then they'll like clearly lie and like look over to the corner, and you know, you're meant to be like, okay, I doubt. It was like, what was it, like believe, doubt, or accuse?
Doubt is what became a bit of a meme thing, where like, you know, if you ever heard like, you know, the stories on like I think Reddit had a lot of it, where you had stories online that were like possibly disinformation. Loads of people in the comments would have just had doubt. Like doubt for the Xbox controls, like, you know. But
and like those interrogations, like while that's the main unique selling point of the game, I think it is what separated it a touch, but like it didn't make a difference if you were good or bad at the interrogation. It didn't matter if you collected enough evidence to like nail a person or to like, you know, believe their alibi, because the game was fairly linear, so you could be crap at the unique part of the game, but the game would have to progress. So you could accuse them, you could get everything wrong, you could have built no evidence, but you still get your promotion at the end of the week and move to the next department. It didn't have any bearing to the...
I love how they recreated that section of LA in it, but you don't get to see really any of it. Like unless you're like, and I'm not like that as a gamer much these days. As a kid, I would have been like it, where I would have maybe try to look at every nook and cranny and try and find glitches, and I'm going to go. I don't have that patience or that kind of, I suppose, intrigue about open world games these days. So unless you were doing that, you don't see much of that world at all. And
it doesn't prompt you to that. There's never, you know, there's never just random like, you know, like viewpoints or anything like that where you to maybe try and like platinum the game. There's nothing like that at all. It's just go off and be a detective, but in very confined movements almost, even though it's open world. And that's basically why I was just like, it could have been a great game if they had fleshed out stuff to do in the open world, or actually didn't make it open world. It would have been a better game if it wasn't open world.
Exactly. Just to keep it keep it on rails and make it do what it's doing. You reminded me of one. It's not on my list, and I'll get onto one on my list now in a second, but it reminded me of The Getaway, because The Getaway they recreated all of London. And what was really fun was Graham, our brother Andrew, who lived in London for 10 years, really, really familiar with the place. He got it recently on I think it's a PlayStation 3 game, so we managed to, or PS2, but we managed to break it back out again. He turned it on, and it's clunky as fuck. It's not a fun game to play. But what was really interesting was driving around. He was like, I used to get whatever bus to this place, but like it's done pin perfectly. And you do spend a lot of time like in cars driving around London. So I guess in that way it was cool that it was open world. But you reminded me of that, the fact that they recreated such a thing. And if only the game kind of played nicely, it would have been a very enjoyable experience. The one I have on my list, I have a couple, but one I want to talk about, which was kind of, I suppose, an introduction to me for what was a really, really good open world game. I'm not saying Grand Theft Auto 3 or Grand Theft Auto Vice City weren't fantastic open worlds, but Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, when I played through that game, really hit me in terms of how vast it felt. And the first point, for those who haven't played San Andreas, I mean, I don't care about spoilers at this stage. That game is fucking old. But when you kind of
what are we across 3 consoles now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for GTA 5, yeah, fucking hell. But for San Andreas, like when you get to that, like you're in Los Santos. Is it Los Santos the first area? Yeah. So you're in Los Santos, the first area with all the gang stuff, and you know it really does create a kind of an atmosphere of the hood. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
like
yeah.
does that really well, and you're trying to defend your territory and everything like that. And then you kind of strike up this deal with the corrupt cops, and they betray you and get you kind of fucking kicked out of Los Santos. And it was at this point where it clicked to me. I was like, "Fuck, this place is huge. This world is huge." Because, and it was one of the funniest things ever, and it's like one of those gaming memories that will always live with me. Is that you get kicked out of Los Santos, and the cops kind of just like leave you at the countryside, like the legitimate countryside. You're in this kind of like caravan camp.
It's like the boonies, literally.
Yeah, out in rural America or whatever else. And what was the coolest thing ever? I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool. It feels like the countryside." And all the cars changed. It's just tractors and kind of big Jeeps and things like that. And I got into a car, and I guess this is what's so successful about Grand Theft Auto as a whole would have been the soundtrack, like the songs they had. And I got into it, and all the cars in that area have like country FM on or whatever else. And I remember I got into the car, and like, you know, I just been like in the hood with like the, you know, kind of ghetto music, hip hop playing and stuff like that when I got into the car. So all of a sudden I found myself in the countryside, punch a guy, pull him out of the car, hop in, and then it's like, she's some kind of wonderful, yes, she is. And I was like, look, I'm in the countryside, like, you know. But it really kind of, it was the first open world game where I felt it was bringing me places, and it all contextually just fit. Like I was like, oh, I'm in the countryside. I'm in here for a reason, because these cops still need me alive to do whatever, but it's too dangerous for me to be in Los Santos, so they've thrown me out into the buffuck middle of nowhere, and it felt like the middle of nowhere too. And then you kind of the rest of the game, like the world, that was one of those open maps. I remember when those GTA games for GTA 3 and Vice City and San Andreas, you got the map in when you opened the disc, the PS2 box or whatever, there was that fold-out map that you got with it. They were amazing. And I remember opening San Andreas and comparing it to the Vice City map and comparing it to the GTA 3 map. This is before I would have been online checking like, what is the biggest world map that exists today? You know, typing into Google. It was like just using my fucking eyes and these things. I was like, Jesus, this place is fucking huge, with like 3 big massive cities, as opposed to the kind of the one city that exists in GTA 3 and the 2 islands that are still essentially one city that exists in Vice City. And I was like, whoa. And it is one of those things that like, and a Grand Theft Auto game is quite good at that, where everywhere you're going has a different kind of taste or flavor. Like the last area is Vegas. It's essentially based off Vegas. I can't remember what it was called actually, that town, but the final place where you go to is based off Vegas. And the NPCs are all a bit like, I mean, the NPCs in Grand Theft Auto games are crazy anyway, but you have like essentially the Vegas Strip in that city, and everyone there is crazy. So you feel like it's like, you know, going down, I'm sure what the Vegas Strip is like in Vegas, like the Elvis impersonators, you know, the kooky people who are going to make their millions on the casinos. And I remember being there and walking through that street at night the first time I got to that city, and I was like, fuck man, this feels great. I was in the hood, I was stuck out in the countryside, and now I'm heisting casinos in Vegas, and it's all part of the same world, and all felt really well connected. And I was like, this is a fucking great open world game for me. So that was my first introduction to, I'd say, insanely good open world games.
Ahead of its time as well. Like that game is old.
Yeah. And it's a pity because I tried to play it recently. Me and Graham went through Vice City, and it was fun, but it was tough. Like it's a fucking, those games are clunky as. And when we finished Vice City, I said, oh, I absolutely love San Andreas. I'm going to give that a go. And as great as that game is, it's hard to play a little bit. You know what I mean? It is clunky. I
tried to play the remaster. And it was I didn't make it out of the hood. I could only get so far, and then like I remember getting into a fight that I didn't even start, and I couldn't connect a punch because I was just so used to good games, and I was like, I can't get the timing of this right. I was just running in circles, punching the air. It's tough to go back and play again.
And it's a pity because I remember as a kid I was like, this is the greatest game I've ever played, and looking back, and of course everything moves on, but I was like, wow, that game is hard to play now. But I still, before doing the prep for this that's what I say, this podcast, just got GTA in the brain. Doing the prep for this podcast, I had a look online at the San Andreas map, and I had all the little symbols for like the Cluck and Bell and all these. And it was weird how much of it was familiar to me. Like just looking at this map, I was like, oh, I remember I used to frequent that ammunition, and that's really close to this place where you do that mission. And I was like, fuck, that game is like I've unlocked something here. That game's ingrained in my brain for how much fun it was to explore.
Remind me again, was that the first GTA where like you really had to like kind of role play? Like you had to make sure he was fed and like you'd go to the gym where you'd put weight on. That's the first time
that was the first time.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah.
One of the funniest. I've played a two-player game as well, which is great that you could actually. The two-player wasn't fantastic, but you could do a two-player and you followed the one camera essentially. But I remember, like, because the film thing was so funny that I was a kid and I found stuff. I was like laughing my head off. Me and Graham were playing a two-player one. We ran into like a Cluck and Bell or whatever, and we were just joking around. And I was just like, punching and mugging people in the Cluck and Bell while Graham was just eating as much as he could as CJ to the point where he had a massive CJ who he just ate the whole place dry, and then when he finished just like got sick everywhere. I took everybody's money and we just left, and I remember being a kid being like, this is the greatest game I've ever played. Like, it was so much fun. But that was a great open world game, and I think still to this day I'm like, contextually when you were going to places there was a reason that you were there and they were filled with everything that they should have for that to make sense. And I thought hats off to Rockstar. Andrew, we got another one for you that's not No Man's Sky.
Damn, I was going to go for No Man's Sky again.
No Man's Sky, the DLC.
I was going to take a second planet to talk about because it's 18 quintillion. No, I was debating. Next one's going to be Fallout.
Any one in particular?
I was debating which one because, I mean, Fallout 4 arguably has the better open world. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to talk about Fallout 76 because that's my favorite.
Okay.
Fallout 76 is your favorite. You have such hot takes. In terms of your favorite open world or your favorite Fallout game?
My favorite Fallout game. Is 76.
Wow, okay.
Fallout 4 is fantastic and has great story, but Appalachia, which is Fallout 76, it's just so much more... What's better? So Fallout 4, it's all very much... everything's wiped out. You're in cityscapes and it's the ruins of humankind. And it's fantastic. I do love it. It's absolutely brilliant. It's got all the narrow little choke points in the builds and stuff. But Appalachia, it's very much the wilderness. So there's one main town, and then the rest of it is just kind of like open world wilderness. So you're kind of
sorry to interject. I'm just going to say, I think when you two are talking to each other, just turning your head from the mics to just make sure you're
sorry.
There you go. That's what the whole body.
I'll just rotate myself.
Yeah,
around
exactly. That'll do it. It's perfect.
But yeah, so with like this one with Appalachia, it's a lot more wilderness. A lot more kind of the creatures you kind of come across. A lot more varied. There's different. It's not just raiders anymore. There's a lot more to it than that now as well. You've got the Brotherhood, you've got raiders, you've got Blood Eagles, and then there's all the new ghouls and scorps. There's a lot more variance of what you're going up against, and it just feels like a lot more of a lived-in world in that regard. And
even when it had, because I know Fallout 76 had its issues whereby
when it launched, it was Ghost Town.
NPCs were, I mean, has that been rectified?
There was when the game originally launched, there was one now. Please correct me if I'm mistaken on this, but I think there was one NPC you could talk to in the entire game, and that was the girl at the Wayward, and that was it. There was no one else in the entire thing to talk to, because I think they figured at the time we're going to populate this with players. There's no need to have NPCs. Yeah. I think that was their assumption behind it. But you have this huge map with 24 players.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're not coming across people, and I think there's it needs to be sparse because it's not going to be a fully populated world.
That's a wasteland. Yeah.
That's a wasteland. Yeah, but you did need that to have conversations with people. Otherwise, you just felt like, well, I'm on my own here, and there's nothing going on, and there weren't enough missions and stuff to keep people occupied. It was all just kind of wander that way for 6 hours.
And was it just not like commercially successful at release, or
at release it was getting bombed? It was it was.
It was a pity because Bethesda, like the idea was great, but Bethesda had no idea how to do this kind of.
Yeah, this is their first attempt at an MMO.
It's the first, and they just did not get it. You know,
they kind of applied the same reasoning from their previous games to an MMO without realizing that with an MMO is a vastly different experience you're going to have. Like you're relying on the actions of people as well as the NPCs, and they just can't. Well, look, we're putting people in, so we'll just focus on people instead. I was like, that doesn't work. But now, I mean, update upon update later, like it's fully fleshed out world, lots of NPCs you can talk to, dozens, like too many missions to take on. You get bogged down in it. But I mean, I'm playing at the moment now, and it is, like I said, where my idea of the perfect world is, you see that point, you can get to it. With the exception of, I think, one area that looks like it's in use for a future DLC or something. Anything you can see, you can get to.
Which is always a bonus.
Yeah, and it's good because there is a fast travel, but you are walking everywhere. It's not like GTA or leave a car or a plane. If you want to get there, if you haven't explored it already, you're walking.
So there's no mounts or anything like that for traversal in the 76?
There's zero thing to traverse with. It is your own feet are the only ways to get anywhere.
Is that a pain at all, or is it like is the world built enough that it's fine?
I think it's because of the style of world that it is. I mean, like it's in ruins. There's nothing you could have, no vehicle you could have that would really traverse well, because even the roads are in rack and ruin. There's massive fissures cutting across the roads. Some of even cutting across the fields, like there's huge drop offs, and there's no flat plain land that you can ever run a horse across or kind of like that. But I think it kind of adds to it, because it's the whole feeling of whenever you're walking somewhere, all the enemies are leveled to you and slightly higher.
Okay.
So there's never a case of you walk in the field and murder everything and go, oh, that was great, that was easy. It's always just that slight challenge, no matter where you are. So if you're walking through like a forest at night and it's really misty, and you can hear the where there's a scorch chasing you, you're in for a fight. Yeah. And the entire way across the entire wasteland, you're always in for a fight. And
the common thing for methods in which for people to play kind of big open world games is a lot of people try and play through the games with a no fast travel, kind of like making that another level of difficulty. But I also feel like it's another level of immersion. That if you can't fast travel anywhere or whatever else, or you can't like run to like place or hop in cars or whatever else, and you got to walk, I'm like, oh, that level of immersion. Like I'm sure we'll get to it in a minute in terms of Red Dead Redemption. Oh yeah. But I watched I didn't watch the whole thing, but someone had put a YouTube video up of watch me walking from one side of the Red Dead map to the other. The video is about 2 hours 20 minutes long of just like Arthur Morgan walking across the entire open world, and I watched about 15 minutes of it, and I was like, this is the most relaxing and and I think if you're into
the scenery, you're just watching as you walk.
And if you're into the game and like you like Fallout 76, you like the world. If you're into that and you have the time to immerse yourself, I kind of like the idea that you can get from A to B super quickly.
And it's as well that you can, like, if you've explored somewhere, you can then fast travel to that from wherever, but it costs you caps, like bottle caps of the currency in Fallout. So they're not so in any other Fallout games, I mean, you'd be walking around with like, pockets full of caps. You've never any issue of thing with this one, because how much everything costs, because you can't just buy like a railway rifle straight off the bat, because you just be murdering things. So you really have to gather the caps for these kind of things. So it's never a case of, I have loads of caps to spend, unless you get to like level I think it's like over level 50, then it becomes a little easier to get your hands on this kind of stuff. But all the way up to level 50, if you want to fast travel, you probably won't be able to afford the next gun you need. So you got to choose, like, is it really worth? I could walk it. It might take me 15 minutes, but I'll get there and I'll have enough money to, buy a new set of armor, a new piece of armor or thing. But you literally are, as you play, until you get the likes of power armor, and even when you get power armor, everything you buy is patchwork. So you'll come across someone who'll be wearing like one piece of leather armor on their shoulder, one piece of metal armor on their chest, maybe some armor on their legs if they're lucky. Or you come across someone in power armor who you might come across the higher level players who are like full on T51 power armor, X01 power, whatever the one that you're using. Or you find a new player who's just found a shell of power armor, who maybe has a helmet attached on and a raider's arm piece hanging off the side of it.
So you're just like picking up bits as you go.
You see exactly. It's like people are scavenging what they can in the world to make up what they need, and that's true for almost every player in it. Until obviously you get to a certain level and you can just buy everything you need.
Nice.
But
so would you recommend Fallout 76 as an open world?
I definitely. It's well, again, I mean, it's a lot of fun. It is sparse. I think I do enjoy that kind of aspect of a lot of games. I mean, like with No Man's Sky or Fallout, they do have that idea of it's sparse and empty for a lot of the kind
so
of
if you're into that kind of, so that might not be your cup of tea, Kev, maybe with a world that feels
I need to be, I think, occupied, if that makes sense. I need to be doing stuff. I need to go from presumably just like NPC to NPC. I like to do like the little, like anyone who needs help, I'll go off and help. I love doing all that little bits of stuff. Big fan.
We've only talked about an open world game that you've hated, KP. What about one that you've loved?
It's not the best one I've ever played, because I in this genre, like, there's been better games since, but at the time, my number one game, my favorite game to play, was always Arkham City. I love that world. I love that series in general. It's the first, because Arkham Asylum wasn't open world. You were kind of confined to the island of Arkham. But when you're in Arkham City, which is just like a subsection of like Gotham, it's one of the most like kind of like, I suppose, like densely populated with NPCs, like kind of baddies that I've ever played. When we were all talking about like fast travel there, it's the only game where fast travel is enabled. You can enable it by like destroying like an Enigma tower. I never wanted to fast travel because nothing got me going more than using the grapple gun to get Skyborn and just gliding through the air with the L cape. I could spend hours just doing that alone. The story mode itself is unreal. Like the gallery of like the rogues, of Batman's like rogue gallery, you come up against like I think like 10 different boss fights in this game. The side quests are all banging. I could just immerse myself in that world, and there's also like really good DLC in it as well. Like you get to play as Catwoman if you got like the Game of the Year edition, or if you downloaded it at the time, and it just kind of changes the mechanics of like the fighting and like the use of kind of gadgets. I just lose myself in that world, and what I love about it as well is like, you can kind of see how that Arkham game in particular maybe inspired like kind of future like kind of superhero games, like in particular the 2018 Spider-Man game, which is an absolute banger of a game. But when you're playing it, like you can see like not that it like took like in like it's
inspired by
like you know like the inverted takedowns you do in the Arkham games, because like that's one of the best parts about it as well. Sorry, I went by that. You can either just be an absolute brute when you're Batman and just go around smashing heads in, which has its own brand of fun, or you go at it in pure detective mode and play it as almost a stealth game. And you know, like plan out your method of attack. You see like maybe like there's 20 people in this room, and you start like planting bombs, and you just take them down in like kind of one fell swoop. It's awesome. And then you kind of see how that like it inspired that Spider-Man game, in particular the Insomniac like 2018 one. It's in like they do inverted takedowns in that, which I don't think would have been a characteristic of a Spider-Man whenever you see it in like comic books or movies or anything like that. And then the use of gadgets, it's very similar. Like it's not like a knockoff by any stretch. Like it's its own brand of like great crack. But in particular, like the traversal through the through Manhattan in the Spider-Man game, like you can really see like where they made the fun out of like not utilizing fast travel. Like the web slinging around that world is amazing, and every time I play it I'm just like, this just reminds me of Arkham City
that
so
feels
much.
like that traversal feels like it's meant to be part of the game as
Yeah,
opposed to like it's like
big time. Yeah,
whatever like story thing. Traversal is one of the things that like I played as well. Like that was one of the things I enjoyed about it most.
Yeah.
It was just like web slinging through the entire city. It was just
you could just do that for hours on end. Like it was just such a fun part of the game. So like this, I think the superhero genre in general, when it's an open world game, is a belter, because it mixes, as I said, why I didn't like L.A. Noire, there was seldom any action or adventure. It's balls to the walls action adventure in these games. Like you're just going around. It's non-stop, like solving, like fighting criminals, putting them away. Like the story modes are always great. I love it as a genre in general, but I think Arkham City was like, I think the catalyst of it being a massively like, I suppose, profitable and like loved style of game, like an open world superhero game.
And I think I could be wrong in terms of, I always forget which one that Craig absolutely loves, but I think Craig would probably be giving you a high five if he was here now, because I think that's one of Craig's, like the Arkham games he's big on, and I think it's City he thinks is one of the greater of the bunch. Yeah, that's a fine choice.
Big fan.
Yeah, and it's been years since I'd like to revisit them. It's one of those things I'm nervous about, being like, are they better left as the memory I have of them, or should I go back? But I think they still play quite well.
I've gone back and played them,
and they still play well.
They still play super well. Like the only thing you'll notice is like the graphics have obviously kind of aged, but like it doesn't.
But they were never about the graphics.
No,
so
but
that's thing. It was always about
the. They've aged, but what was the Gotham Knights game that came out looks worse than some of the with the, which I think is
But when you see the side by side comparison, like I think the Harley Quinn side by side comparison is the one that people use the most, because she has her. I can't remember if it was Arkham Knight or Arkham City. She's a big character in all the earlier Arkham games. But like, there's one in which like she's wearing the exact same suit as she's wearing in Gotham Knights, and they did a side by side. Or is it? Sorry, am I thinking of the Suicide Squad? Maybe.
Oh, it might be the Suicide Squad.
It might be the Suicide Squad. But the side by side, like it's a downgrade. Like you've aged it. Like you've had 10 years of like a
and it's so
development.
It's so it's so interesting that like, because the one I saw was, I think it's Batman in one of the Arkham City games or Knights games, and he's standing at the harbour. And there's a big thunderstorm. He's looking at the like a bridge, and he's down at the harbour, and you can see all the water, and it's a bit of a storm, and all the water's lapping everywhere. And not only does it look really good, but atmospherically, it's like, whoa, you know, this is a dark night in Batman's universe or whatever. And the side thing is, I think someone's playing as Batgirl at a harbour in Gotham Knights, and it looks like it's got no feeling to it. Do you know what I mean? There's no love in it in terms of how it was put together, because it's just very beige. Do you know what I mean? Looking at it being like, oh yeah, there's nothing. The weather's fine. Water graphics are mediocre. There's no atmosphere. It's just a new game, whatever. But like,
was it the Warner Brothers like Montreal studio did that one? I think
Gotham Knights.
Yeah, because every now and then they chime in and they try to like spoil that franchise a touch, because they did they
really one job,
because they did Arkham Origins, which is I think that's canon for the Arkham series, because Gotham Knights I don't think is like in that universe. While it might share the universe per se, but I don't think it's in that like series of games. So like Arkham Origins is like kind of trashy. Out of all of them, like it's probably the worst. Like the Rocksteady ones are always great, but then Rocksteady ballsed up with Suicide Squad, so I just don't know where it's going to go. It's kind of like could be dead in the water. I'm a bit concerned.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like it's when you get some of those older games have such a feeling to them, like in terms of and it takes a certain group of people to come together to create a game like that. That in a lot of companies like Rockstar, or maybe in the Arkham kind of series, that those teams aren't there anymore. It's totally new people trying to recreate the same thing, but don't have the same sort of. I'm not saying that they're worse developers or anything like that, but maybe not the same sort of a care or attention to detail that this old team might have had.
I did read that during the production of the Suicide Squad game, two of the founders of Rocksteady, but even before the game was released, they were like, we're done. Like the game was on the cusp of being released, so like there wasn't probably much more to be done in terms of getting it over the line, and they just went out on their own. They set up a new development company called, I think it's called 100 Star Productions or something like that, and their whole kind of mission statement is that we're just going to take 100, including themselves, career industry level professionals, and just down, like, their whole thing is we don't need 500 people to make a very good game. If we get the right 100 people, we can make a fantastic game. So I'm hoping they might get the rights to the Arkham series again.
Like, you know, to make something that doesn't have to necessarily be this massive, huge game either. Like, condense it and just make everything that's there that's better. Going on from ones you love, I'll pop into one that I hated, and it might be unfair of me to say because I only played it for, I think I gave it like maybe 3 hours tops. It was all I decided to give it. Dynasty Warriors 9.
Okay.
And the reason I say it's a terrible open world is that it shouldn't have been an open world. They were never open world before, and it doesn't lend its. I mean, in theory, you could create an amazing Dynasty Warriors game in an open world setting.
Yeah.
But these guys just don't have the. I'm not saying the experience. I just don't the know-how to kind of mesh it into their style of game.
That whole game is about a specific map that you're doing in a specific era. Like that's
it's like and that's the thing is like you're doing certain battles during the Three Kingdoms period of Chinese history, and you know you're in Xibi doing the Battle of Xibi. You're at the Wuzhang Plains doing the Battle of Wuzhang and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's cool, but why? Like, I mean, how can you make this open world? And like, I can't. And it's weird is that I didn't play long enough to figure out how I'm going, because I can't even remember where it was the Yellow Turban Rebellion, but it was a massive open world map, and I was like, and you're running across it. You're at war, but you're running across it until you find just like a collection of enemies, and then you go in classic Dynasty Warrior style and like knock out 70 of them in the coolest way possible. And then you're on your horse and you're running to the next massive group of people that you can find to get them down and try and find a general or whatever else. But it doesn't. And you'll remember from playing the old games, Andrew, as well. Like the game, in terms of its assets and its maps, were very limited. Like you'd have the odd watchtower that you could break down, and then everything else was like pathways up mountain sides or maybe small open plains with a river or a bridge. But asset-wise, it wasn't. They didn't have enough to kind of populate an entire open world, and that's very evident.
They barely had enough to populate the maps they had.
Yeah. And everything in this open world, I remember from the few hours that I gave it was very samey, and I was just like, God, what? Like, because I was talking, I think I said, it's funny that I brought it up, but there's been a lot of Dynasty Warriors on the podcast recently, whereas it was a thing I hadn't even thought of, like, you know, this time last year. But it's funny thinking back to like Dynasty Warriors 4 or 5 and then this one, and I was just shaking the box being like, look what they've done to you, like, you know. So that was a really, really disappointing one. But what I want to bring up just real quickly, and then I might just get like a little last note on some of our open worlds that we'd like to talk about maybe. I guess you can consider open world, and I wanted to put it in there because I think just for gaming it's been massive. Do you know what I mean? Minecraft.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it definitely is open world.
Yeah.
No, it definitely is, because it is a map, but it's in like it's now a map ad infinitum. You can't reach the end. So
C generated, so every time you start a new game, it's there. But it's funny in that, like, I haven't played it in a while now, and I know there's been loads of updates. But for me, for playing that game and it being open world, it was that thing of, it was true exploration. Like, you'd have to go out to find it, because we had, I don't know if I ever told you this, KP, but years ago, myself and Andrew and a couple other mates, one of the lads started a server on Minecraft, and our whole thing was like, we're going to finish Minecraft. Instead of just sitting around creating things online, we're going to finish Minecraft. And it was an amazing thing where we kind of set up a village and had this whole thing, but we'd go out into this open world that we had, like, you have those little maps that you can bring up and it generates what you've seen for yourself. And off we went to find the different things that we'd need to find the Ender Dragon or the Wither Dragon, all that kind of stuff. And I remember...
I just feel like I have to insert into this, just because I don't know if you've forgotten, and I just feel like I need to remind you. Do you remember we had this beautiful, beautiful village designed?
Yeah, I know.
Do you remember what I did?
Well, is this where Danny spawned the Wither?
Oh, no. Do you remember my wall?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
So I went out of it. They had this beautiful, like, wooded village all set up with pathways and stuff. So I went just slightly away, but just so they could still see me, built my base, and then built a massive sandstone brick wall.
Okay.
Towering above the village, but pristine white, really. So whenever they were in the village, just look up and there's this massive wall just sticking over the hedges.
It was like it's
just
like
the aesthetic gone.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you buy a really nice house and this block of horrid apartments comes up, like, up beside you. We were like, "What are you doing?" And we begged them to break it down. We really did. It was a real, like, it was funny. It was that thing of, like, all of us, like, living in a community together and, like, annoying each other as neighbors essentially. Yeah. But it was cool in that, like, we went out and, like, you go on your exhibition. We'd try and find horses, and the lads you were all helping to get stuff to create a saddle, and then we kind of have to, like, break the horses and everyone. And I know that graphically it's like, it's just blocks, do you know what I mean? But I remember all of us riding out, because the sun would set and you'd get, like, a different kind of lighting, but we'd be riding out up mountains and all of us would be on our all of us would be on our horses, but then our mate Danny would be on a pig with a carrot on a stick, because that's the only way. You couldn't control a pig unless you had a carrot on a stick. So we'd all be on horses running around. You turn to him, he'd be like, run around this pig. But we went through the whole game and it's kind of trying to find out. And, like, it's this thing, we have to go into dungeons and there's a portal that'll take you to the Ender Dragon, and we finished it. And I remember being like, wow, that was like I opened up the map at the end because. It depends on where you spawn, but you can be lucky that you'll spawn near enough to all the bits and pieces that you need to finish the game, or you can spawn that you'll have to search so much to finish the game. And I remember looking at the map by the time we credits were rolling, whatever else. I was like, great, I actually finished Minecraft. I didn't think that was a thing, And looking at the map, and I was like, fuck, we covered a lot of ground, And it was a real game of exploration with your pals. And I haven't looked at Minecraft in years, but. And I shouldn't, because that's the thing that would probably suck me right back in again, I think, for a little while. But really good. I just think I was like, that's actually an open world game, and one that I thoroughly enjoyed. I don't know if you guys have any sort of, like, honorable mentions if you want to bring up or anything.
I've two honorable mentions. One I didn't want to talk about too much because I haven't played it in a while and it has changed. It'd be Ark Survival Ascended, the new one. Again, amazing open world, graphically fantastic, and like that you can see everything, you can get to perfect, but there's no one to talk to. So it is very much a case of you're playing with other people and building things. So there's zero thing. There are little historical notes you can find to find out how the arcs came to be and stuff like that. But as far as real storytelling goes, it doesn't exist. But it is one of the most beautiful. And again, dinosaurs. Go tame your dinosaurs and ride around a T-Rex and eat other players. There's just something magical about it.
And your other honorable mention?
Driver.
Interesting fun. Choice,
because technically it was an open world.
It was,
because you couldn't obviously get out of the car, but you could drive around this entire. Was it New York or was it where was the?
I don't know.
Or was it even a?
I don't know if it was. I think it was fictional. I don't know if it was. I mean, it might have said New York, but it wasn't based on any sort of New York that we'd know. Driver's an interesting choice. Yeah, I had one of the greatest end missions of a game I ever remember, which was to get.
That was the most impossible end mission of a game I've ever seen. Did you ever get to the end of this one?
No.
So this was you're driving around, but this one is you kidnap or kill the president?
No. You're trying to. I think there's a plot inside the. Because you're like a gun for hire essentially in Drivers. You're not good or you're not bad, but I think there's a plot somehow to kill the president. So you kidnap the president to save the president because the police force is out to get you. But it's a really cool mission that you start off with the president in the car and you're in a car park and you've got to escape. But you've got like full stars. and there's nothing but like 100 police cars chasing you, and you're in this cool like I can even think of, I forgot about Driver because I can even think of the intro to Driver.
It was San Francisco-ish kind of, because there's all
the
those
hills.
jump hills, and they were like
trams and stuff.
You would launch off one of these just in time to see like 20 Fed cars coming up the other way, like tearing past you, missing you by this much. Thinking, I've made it safely, hit the ground, and get T-boned by a Fed truck, dead. There's just, it was such an impossible.
Driver
mission.
was a great choice, an open world essentially, but not one that you could.
But and it was one of those ones where you really felt like a pro driving that car, because when you handbrake, turn it around corners, just nip the picket fences on the way around kind of thing. It's like, I feel like it's such a pro at this.
Yeah. Any other honorable mentions from you?
Ghost of Tsushima.
One I really want to give a shot to.
Oh, it's a great game. It's like there's very little kind of dead space in the world. The world is massive. There's a sufficient amount of like side quests you can do. The main storyline is great, but like the main hook on this one for me is the world, the open world itself. It is beautiful. Like it looks,
the coloring and everything, because I got I think I said it before to Craig, it's on my list of things to do, because I got into it and played the first 3 or 4 hours and loved it, but I just platinumed Forbidden West, so I had serious open world fatigue.
And that's a real problem with this. Is a big game as well, so like that is an issue, because I can't remember what game I just finished playing. It might have been like a God of War or something, but again, another open world game, and it like going back to back on those is tough. But this one, it's worth it. Like if you just stick to the main story, like you don't really need to do the side quests. Like the hook on this for me is it's worthwhile doing them, because you can level up, and like being a samurai, like the leveling up enables you to be able to unlock different stances with your sword, which come in really handy for tackling certain kind of enemies. Like so a certain stance will do better against a person with a spear or with a shield, all this sort of stuff. So it's worthwhile for that, but not necessary. The world itself is gorgeous. I played it twice. The first time on just like the standard like color, but then the second
black
time
and white.
I did the black and white with the Japanese voice acting. Which it just, that for immersion, it's great. It's the Kurosawa cut they call it, the Japanese,
because that was the guy who kind of made the samurai movies back in the day.
Now, the only thing about doing that, and particularly with the Japanese voice acting, is that you do fairly rely on the subtitles. So I was reading the whole time missing a lot of the world. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, be careful doing that. But great game. 10 out of 10.
Nice. One I feel that would be wrong of us not to mention, because you and me have talked about a lot anyway in general, be Red Dead Redemption 2, kind of brought it up earlier. I think, as you said, in terms of lived in or filled with NPCs and things to do, Red Dead Redemption is the most lived in open world that I've played to date. And one thing that I truly admire about that game, and for people who haven't played Red Dead Redemption, I really recommend it and just like soak it up, because there's so much in that game that the developers put a huge amount of work into, that you could go through the game and never ever see. And I admire that the developers would have taken that stance to be like, we're going to do this anyway. And people may or may not see these things. And what I love about it is that sometimes I'd go onto the Red Dead Redemption 2 subreddit, and you'd see people putting up pictures of being like, hey, I just, like, one of the things was like, hey, I just found this sheep with like a bow on it and a ring. And it was like, I think the problem with that quest is that the guy, because I think that sheep was just nearby wherever the house of the quest is, but I think that guy is into bestiality or wants to marry the sheep. He's very strange. But the person on Reddit was like, oh, it's a bow and it looks like it's got like a ring on it. Does that mean that someone is using this sheep as a ring bearer for like a wedding? And all the comments were like, oh, that's not what it is. But I love that people are discovering things in different ways, because they didn't do this quest, but they came across, or they hadn't done that quest yet, or done enough things to get to that quest yet, but came across the house and had their own interpretation of everything that's going on. And that happens so much. I mean, I played through the game, and it wasn't until my like second playthrough that I came across the UFO or the ghost train, all these kind of things that are just in the world that you might never
walk right past, never
experience. And I love that. And I think, but I think to finish it, we all three of us are kind of have played it or are currently playing it. And I think it'd be worth kind of finishing on, but would be Horizon Forbidden West. And the reason I think it's a good idea to finish on is that, for me, Horizon Forbidden West, although I don't think is the best open world in terms of its content, I think it is the most beautiful open world game I have ever played. And I think it's the only game still to date that for me is like, wow, look what the PS5 can actually do, because the lighting and how vibrant that world is just
mind blowing.
Out of this world. I think it leads into one of the things that I love about them is just learning about a world that you go through the ruins and you're in. I think this is what it's meant to be, San Francisco and Forbidden West, isn't it? Because the Golden Gate Bridge is in the background. Yeah. So it's meant to be San Francisco. So you're learning about all these things, like, you know, like the San Francisco Zoo, and you go to like the old theme parks and stuff like that. And it's just old images, and you hit Vegas as well in the desert, and you can see all the lights from the old lights from Vegas.
The underground Vegas.
Vegas, because they had to move Vegas underground to keep it going, because the Nevada desert was too hot to actually have the strip on anymore, so they had to move it underground. I was like,
and the whole thing with the water as well. They're getting water back into it, and like finding little conversations about how they were going about it.
And I think that's another thing as well, as you said, that's a side quest, I think, isn't it? That's not actually a main quest.
That's not even a main quest,
Just that they do a whole side quest in Horizon Forbidden West about, because again, for those, I mean, I'm sure people who are listening to the podcast know, but you're however many hundreds of thousands of years into the future, so you're learning about San Francisco before, you know, the Great War happened and the world went to shit. But what's cool about it is, it's a side quest where you kind of find out how they saved Las Vegas until the war came, because the climate change was the first issue, and then they thought they'd fix that, but the machines they used to help fix that, they turned to war, and then those things took over. But that's a great list. Like I said, it's all about this one dude who came up with a way to filter water, and you're just learning about this guy and how he saved essentially Las Vegas and put it underground and stuff like that. And that's the kind of shit that I love. I was soaking all that in, being like, this isn't even the main fucking storyline. I could just go through the game and not see any of this.
I think my favorite part of the entire game wasn't main storyline. It was the three guys who were trying to do the projectors, you know, the balls. And then you do like the very end of that. I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't played it, kind of thing. But the very end of that, where they're all together and they get it all going, was fantastic.
Yeah,
just to see it all.
Did you finish it?
No, I'm playing through it now, and I'm probably taking way longer with it than I should. But the problem for me, and not that this is a bad problem, this is a good problem, is that I can't keep to the main story. I just go for
nobody can.
I can't do it.
It's impossible.
I just go wandering. I like the side quest stuff, the going finding the viewpoints, the exploring the ruins. I'm completely immersed by that, and then I kind of forget, like, I need to go back to the
I was doing something a minute ago.
Exactly.
And I think that's the sign of a really successful open world game, whereby you say to yourself, holy shit, I actually need to go back and like play the main game. One of the best bits about that, I'm big into kind of post-apocalyptic movies and stuff like that. That's kind of like my consumption now. I'm like, oh, what one have I not seen or can I check out? But one of my favorite sections, and I'm sure you've come across a few of them so far, is that you're finding the black boxes for the fighter jets. And that's a really cool thing, in that, like, you're getting, you know, the last words or stuff like that of the people who were fighting the great fight to give people the time to, you know, deliver the big plan. And when I'm sitting there and listening to, and it's one of those things where I would find the black box and I would make Aloy just kind of like stand there or sit there or whatever else and just soak it all up, because I'm like, I'm so interested as to what happened. And there's loads of books I read or the games that I've played where, like, something's happened in the past that's kind of the storyline, but I've never been so intrigued by Horizon's world. Now, I will say
something I've noticed as well with those black boxes as well is they're done very much a case of where you find the planes is very much what they're describing in our last moments in the things. Normally, like those kind of things, you'd find like a box in a place and it has nothing to do with the bearing of where you found it. But I mean, just for example, the one in the lake, they're talking about their last thing is, all right, I'm going to try and ditch it in this lake, so everyone get ready to jump out, and then you obviously find it at the bottom of the lake, kind of thing. It's it's really, really cool. It's
very, very cool. And I think as well, like, just again, harken back to it, it's the vibrancy of that world, and the fact that, you know, you can go through, like, into the mountainous snowy area, and you still have the Las Vegas kind of deserty area, the starting area, which is kind of the lush greenery,
jungle, which is
the jungle, and it all makes sense, which is important, because it's not just biomes for the sake of biomes. Whereas in Minecraft, one block is grass and the next block is just snow, and that's just how it works. Whereas this one kind of, it all makes sense. It's the same with, as I say, in the San Andreas at the start. Contextually, this all exists here for a reason, and it makes sense to do so, which makes the immersion just so much more powerful. And the fact that the world is being inhabited and walking around with, like, robot dinosaurs is also a big
and they're plus. Like, they're hard to avoid. I like, sometimes I go for a wander and it's like I can't go for my wander because I haven't, like, got enough, like, probably powerful weapons at this stage, and there's just a fucking horde of mechanical horses in front of me. I'm like, well, I'm screwed here. Like, I just need to chill out for a while.
One of my favorite moments, I was trying to the Thunderjaw, is that the Rex one?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was trying to sneak up one of those because the part I needed was, like, basically, it's like just back over his shoulder kind of thing, so you get it. So it's doing perfect. Spent ages sneaking around, avoiding everything. Just as I pop up to take the shot with the arrow, one of the little watchers pops his head up, looks straight at me, and goes red, and everything just turns and looks at me. He's like, oh no.
And what was really nice about that game as well, it had its own, and hats off to the developers for doing this, but it had its own beautiful moments in that there's an area I think it's towards the end of, I don't know how far into it you are, but it's towards the end of the game. It's a gorgeous area kind of at the beach, and the lookout is amazing. And I remember like dropping down and finding this, being like, oh, what area is this? And I walked up, and there was a place where I could, it said just sit. And then when it said, it was like, just have a think. And she finds a sheet of paper, and she reads out this thing, and it's describing how amazing this individual, this person was. And I was like, God, that's such a lovely note. Like, what is this person? And it turns out that one of the lead developers of the game passed away from I think he had cancer during the development of the game, and then he died, and this was their homage to him. But I was like, and I was sitting there being like, wow, that's actually, because of where I was, and it was so powerful. But it was so powerful as well because how beautiful the game looked. That I was sitting there, they were reading out this thing, and it was their little like homage to this person who they obviously clearly very much loved in the development team. But it really, like, it knocked. I was like, I have to find out, because this isn't just like, this is definitely a real life thing that they put in here. And I remember, like, because she sits there and she waits, and I think while you're there, the sun, I think it does it at a thing, so it makes this kind of sunset while you're there. And I was sitting there being like, fuck me, this is a powerful piece of like using your world that really kind of like from a just a scenery perspective hits you as well as what's being said. And I was like, oh, this is a very well built open world. And I love the fact that they've used their own creation to pay homage to someone who's on the development team. But yeah, I figured that because all three of us played it, was worth mentioning. For anybody else who played it, I think it's the best looking game to date for that's an open world one as well. I think that's probably good for us, lads.
Yeah.
Open worlds. Don't play Dynasty Warriors 9. Don't play L.A Noire if you're looking for a good open world experience. Play the rest. They're all great. KP, thanks a mil for hopping on.
Pleasure.
Andrew, thank you. Thanks
for having us.
Our next thing is we're going to do a quick post show with our next round of the Gift of Gaming Battle Royale. So if you're interested in that or seeing where that's going, you can check out patreon.com/the Gift of Gaming. And for the cost of a coffee a month, if you're thinking of sacrificing caffeine or getting rid of caffeine into your life, you know what you should replace it with? More Gift of Gaming podcast stuff. So you can check it out patreon.com/the Gift of Gaming. And if you have any comments on the open worlds that we've talked about today, let us know at the Gift of Gaming podcast @gmail.com. Thank you so much for hopping on, and to our listeners, as always and forever, keep enjoying the gift that is gaming. Peace out.